time around we are in Bulawayo. So just to have a recap from our previous vlog, we're looking at the RAW project, and the RAW project is focusing on generating evidence for data-driven advocacy. And I've got with me this wonderful, wonderful souls. By the way, I am Yandani, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and then just let us into who they are and what they do.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marvelous. I'm a human rights defender, I'm an advocate, and it dates way back from when I started my advocacy. I was with girls as a board member. That is 15 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. From there, my advocacy went up and my profession went in line with what I wanted. This is me. I'm a human rights defender and with a bias to LGBTQ community, sex workers, and young people. Currently, I'm with Population Solutions for Health here in Bulawayo. I'm a health personnel there, also with interest to key populations, programming, and health issues.
Right. Thank you, Marvelous.
Good morning. My name is Charmaine Dumezi. I prefer to be called Dumezi. My work in this field of advocacy began when I started working with Power, which was a sex worker-led organization. Then I rose to work with Zimbabwe Sex Workers Alliance, also advocating for sex workers' rights. But currently I work with the Sexual Rights Center, which is advocating for the inclusion of LGBTI and key vulnerable and population groups in Bulawayo. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I'm Carol Zaidi. And I think basically what I can say is I've seen myself and people have seen me grow as an activist within the human rights defender space, particularly within the LGBTI space. And I have found myself to be a healing justice practitioner, and really trying to find out what justice or the justice-based approach can contribute to this movement, and how best we can sort of get where we want to go and even beyond.
Thank you.
Salbonani, Ibizolano Santana Shuma, just call me Mimi. I'm the team leader at System and also a broadcast journalist. But I started doing advocacy 7 years ago when I was at the National AIDS Council, advocating firstly for the representation of the LGBTI community within the space, and also advocating not just representation, but acknowledging of our existence and acknowledging of the issues that we're facing. So briefly, that would say this is me.
All right, thank you, Mimi. So ladies, now that we're all acquainted, my first question to you would be, looking at Bulawayo, comparing to other locations, other cities in Zimbabwe, how has your advocacy journey been? What have you faced? What are the challenges, the wins, the victories? How has it been? You mentioned that you've been in this for 15 years, and looking at the 15 years we've gone through, how has that journey been for you?
Dating way back then, the spaces were male-dominated. Even the funding was mostly for men and MSN, I can say. And slowly but surely, people were coming out, women were coming out that were often left out. Even if we're looking at HIV programming, we're deemed not to be at risk. So many advocates really tried to rise up, with so many organizations opening up bit by bit. Bulawayo, where it's small city compared to Harare, we last I guess to open up a feminist organization. But slowly but surely we kept on moving, Like as we are sitting right now, we really didn't think we would really voice out like this today.
So you think that is an achievement, yes?
Yes.
All right. Mimi, you mentioned that you also have a background in broadcasting. That's media representation, and looking at that aspect of for LGBT women, how has that been throughout your journey, just getting also them represented on media?
I'll give you my experience when I was on attachment, and how when you are openly queer, sometimes you are probably not taken with the team that go and report on politics. You are more given the simplest role, report on entertainment news. But if you want to take up serious roles and want to take up serious positions, it becomes a bit of but you're queer, how is this going to look like for the institution? And that is for someone who's openly queer. But for me, the environment on this one was limiting. Hence, I was like, I am going to do broadcast journalism on my own and speak out on issues that I feel like I will not be restricted within an institution. But being openly queer to an institution that has its values and principles that necessarily do not support LGBTI people, individuals, it becomes a bit hectic, especially in Zimbabwe right now. So that has been my experience when I was doing my attachment.
All right then. Whilst we're looking at the challenges that we're facing, I would want us also to first celebrate those small little victories that we've achieved throughout our journey. Maybe you can share with us your victories in your journey.
I think collectively we've made a lot of wins. To just, I know it might be arguable, but I think to just have the mention of lesbian in even state-owned media is a milestone, because usually when people spoke of gayism, as they were calling it back then, it was MSM driven and MSM centered. But I think just to have some understanding of issues around what is a lesbian, and people actually know what a lesbian is and what a bisexual woman is, I think it's really a milestone. It opens up room for maneuvering, and it really widens the net for advocacy. Because I remember in our initial engagements with the women's movement, their argument was, but you guys want to be men. So because there was this misconception that lesbians want to be men. And it took a very long time to sort of get out of that space where even our presence was being questioned. And I think really, particularly here in Bulawayo, I've seen a lot of mainstream women's rights movements and women's feminist movements, somewhat, I guess, really opening up to say, no, but if you guys are women, then why can't you be in the space? And why can't we work together? And there have been opportunities to engage, and I think that's really important. And then also within the wider human rights space, I think there have been positive inroads where people are engaging. No, I think also another positive that we have had as particularly LGBTQ women is being able to engage with funders outside of the wider LGBTI space. Because for a long time we're just conflated. There would be like a line for a workshop within a bigger grant for LGBTI persons, which in that context would mean MSM with undertones of trans, but not really including LGBTQ activists and LGBTQ people. I think as time has progressed, we've been, in terms of autonomy and just being able to stand out on our own, it's really, and to collectively organize outside of the wider LGBTI space has really been something that we've been able to do more consistently over the years. Yeah.
All right, so in other words, we have, as a movement, you've managed to be engaged in those institutions, in those spaces where, looking back, you were not really engaged in. Charmaine, you, looking at women in their diversity, you did mention that at the beginning of your journey you were advocating for also sex workers, and I understand that amongst the sex workers we also have LB women within the scope and the mix. How has that been for you? What are your little achievements in that whole process up to where you are now?
Okay, thank you. I think one of our biggest achievements is being able to support sex workers in their diversity to come together and speak on issues that affect them. I think the support that we've been receiving from our funders, we've been able to run sessions where we're empowering sex workers on their rights. And I think these empowerment sessions are the ones that have assisted us in gaining the wins that we're celebrating today. So for example, in 2015 we had a law which was penalizing sex workers and charging them for loitering for the purpose of prostitution. So we really did empower sex workers to not pay fines when they're arrested. So we also had complaints, receiving complaints from these sex workers where they're stating that police are now harassing us. When you're seen in the street, even when you're not even going to work, you're being charged for loitering. So we did empower the sex workers and support from various law firms, and we really did take up the case, and we really succeeded in repealing that law. So not only did it benefit the sex workers, but mostly women, because if you're a woman being seen in the streets after 8 o'clock, you're being arrested. And secondly, I think one of our biggest achievements is being able to speak about our issues. I think mostly it has been a male-dominant space where we're only talking about the gay issues, men with sex with men, but now today we're able to speak about our issues as women.
All right, so there's been some form of inclusion to an extent, yes. And then, while we talk about the achievements we've made at institutional levels, maybe as individuals within the movement, your milestones, how has it been? What are your achievements in there?
I think being able to sit in this panel and speak about issues, I think 10 years back I wouldn't have been able to speak about my issues. I think we've really been empowered and we're well informed and we're clear on what we want as women. I think we're also pushing and standing up and fighting for our rights as women. I think it's something that really is worth celebrating.
Yes.
On my point of view, I'm happy that we're being recognized as women, as LPQ. For instance, at my workplace, when in the health sector, many a times I've been called to be asked, will be LPQ